Acting is a job like any other. Someone somewhere has a movie that they want made and actors get hired to star in them. Simple. But sometimes actors want a movie to happen so bad that they end up doing as much work behind the camera as in front of it. From raising the money and putting everything in motion as the producer of their own dream project, to calling the shots behind the camera as the film's director. Several big film stars have put on a few extra hats when it comes to making some of your favorite films happen. One of the more well-known recent examples of an actor taking the reins to get a film done the right way is probably Ryan Reynolds finally giving Deadpool the proper treatment after the laughably awful take that he got roped into in X-Men Origins. Having become a fan of the character while preparing for that role, Reynolds then later worked closely with Deadpool scriptwriters Reese and Paul Wernick to adapt the characters more faithfully. And with the help of some very successful leaked test footage in 2014, he ended up producing both of the Sassy Assassins features in 2016 and 2018 respectively, the latter of which he also co-wrote. The rise to fame story known as A Star is Born has, infamously, had a slew of adaptations. Starting in 1937 as a film starring Janet Gaynor and Frederick March, it got remade in 1954 with Judy Garland and James Mason, then got remade again in 1976, this time with Barbra Streisand and Kris Kristofferson. But only the 2018 version, starring none other than Lady Gaga, had its second lead behind the camera as well, that being Bradley Cooper, who actually directed the movie. This version even managed to snag itself an Academy Award for the song Shallow, written by Cooper and Gaga themselves. But then, Academy Award nominated songs seem to be a tradition for this particular story. While the 1995 film adaptation of Jane Austen's famous novel from 1811, Sense and Sensibility, was directed by Ang Lee, later probably better known for films such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Brokeback Mountain, the film's star Emma Thompson was the one to write the screenplay. Reportedly, Thompson spent the better part of 5 years on the script between other projects. And it was seen as a risky move to let a then-novice screenwriter tackle the film adaptation of one of the most beloved literary works of all time. Considering the film got 7 Oscar nominations and Thompson actually won one for her screenplay, the risk seems to have paid off. There's no shortage of adaptations of mystery writer Agatha Christie's many great murder cases, starring colorful detectives such as Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. But that doesn't mean that we can't keep making more. The 2017 film Murder on the Orient Express didn't just have Kenneth Branagh on camera as the Belgian-accented Poirot attempting to solve a series of murders on a speeding train. It also had him pulling double duty as director. But while the movie had plenty of stars in front of and behind the camera, Branagh couldn't quite crack the mystery of how to get much higher than average review scores. Oh well. From one murder investigation to another, we have Big Little Lies, based on Leanne Moriarty's novel, where a group of upper-class mothers, including Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman, get mixed up in a tragic murder at a public school. Here, Reese Witherspoon doesn't just star as the somewhat too-perfect local mother Madeline McKinsey, while Nicole Kidman plays retired lawyer Celeste Wright. They're also both among the executive producers on the project. The miniseries was so successful that, despite initial plans, Witherspoon's company, Hello Sunshine, ended up developing a second season while they were at it. Now, who says that housewives have to be desperate? There are some very well-read actors we're dealing with here. Ben Stiller doesn't just star as the titular character of the 2013 film adaptation of James Thuber's short story, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, from 1939, where Walter constantly wanders off into heroic daydreams to escape his daily tedium. He also co-produced the movie and directed it himself. But then this isn't surprising, as he has directed and starred in such comedy favorites as The Wacky Zoolander and its sequel, as well as the Hollywood-mocking Tropic Thunder. Fitting, as in Walter Mitty's case, that would make Stiller a dude who directs a dude who plays a dude that likes to pretend to be a different dude. Dude. You know how sometimes films are introduced as a insert director here film? It seems like a bit of a boast, considering how many people it takes to make a movie. But there's something more to it when one person does both the writing, the directing, and plays the lead. That's the case with Karen Gillan's The Party's Just Beginning from 2018, where a Scottish woman named where a young Scottish woman engages in all sorts of self-destructive behavior to cope with her friend's suicide the year before. She must have done a good job, as the film did grab itself a fair amount of award nominations after it was first shown at the Glasgow Film Festival. Rocky, the ultimate underdog movie with the ultimate underdog production history. Writing the script in just a few days after witnessing the historical boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner, Stallone brought the script to many producers who just kept refusing to do it, due to Stallone's insistence that he play the lead role himself. He eventually got his wish in exchange for only having the budget of $1 million to work with. Good thing that it ended up earning $225 million and got 5 sequels, a spin-off, and a sequel to that spin-off, all of them starring Stallone in some fashion, who also wrote 7 and directed 4 of the movies. See what happens when the little guy gets a shot? Margot Robbie can do so much more than just elevate a divisive movie like Suicide Squad by playing Harley Quinn. She can also portray and produce movies about real-life celebrities like figure skater Tonya Harding, who was infamously accused of arranging a brutal kneecapping attack on her rival Nancy Kerrigan in Cobo Arena in 1994. She didn't direct or write the movie, but she certainly gave the darkly hilarious mockumentary-style take on events' life, and ran off with a bunch of award nominations. Maybe she'd have won some of them if she'd kneecapped a few other actresses. There are a lot of controversies to talk about when it comes to Mel Gibson. Like, a lot. But there is no denying that in the 80s and 90s, he was one of the top badasses in all of cinema, making a name for himself in action series like Mad Max and Lethal Weapon. This culminated in 1995 when he not only starred in, but also produced and directed the historic war epic Braveheart, based on the exploits of the real-life Scottish knight William Wallace. You tried doing those 3 jobs all at once while wearing a kilt. Okay, we've done a lot of novel and history adaptations, but how about a play? More specifically, we're talking about the 1985 play Fences by August Wilson, all about a family man named Troy Maxon in 1950s America, who is bitter to have missed his shot at playing Major League Baseball due to being declared too old when black athletes were finally allowed to compete. The play was adapted into a movie in 2016 by Denzel Washington, and not only did Denzel take the role of Troy, he also directed and produced the movie, and did such a good job in all areas that it was deemed one of the top 10 films of 2016 by the American Film Institute. How's that for a home run? While the 2019 version of Charlie's Angels, the third feature film adaptation of the all-female crime-fighting team that graced TV screens in the late 70s, didn't exactly find much favor with critics or at the box office, it wasn't for a lack of effort on the part of its cast. Elizabeth Banks didn't just star in the movie as former Angel Bosley, she also wrote the screenplay and directed the movie, wishing to send an empowering message of more women doing more jobs behind the camera. When you mention the grand old men of Hollywood, you can't do so without mentioning Clint Eastwood at least once. Aside from being one of America's all-time biggest badasses by playing such iconic roles as the Man with No Name and the no-nonsense cowboy cop Dirty Harry, Clint has a long history of directing and/or producing many award-winning movies and starring in them himself. From his directorial debut with the stalker thriller Play Misty for Me, to other big-time titles like $1 Million Baby, Unforgiven, and Gran Torino, Clint is no stranger to doing a lot of heavy lifting in filmmaking. He's even still going strong at the age of 90, currently directing, producing, and starring in the neo-western Cry Macho, set to release this year. And I can't wait to see it, so go ahead, Clint, make my day. For many actors, starring in the films that they direct is somewhat of a special occasion, something reserved for a dream project, or even sometimes due to the insistence of producers. Kevin Costner, on the other hand, for better or worse, doesn't seem to want to direct or produce at all if he doesn't also get to star. This began with his Western drama epic Dances with Wolves in 1990, where his character befriends and gains a deeper understanding of a native tribe after being stationed at an abandoned Fort Sedgwick. Since then, he's only gotten to do all 3 jobs at once 2 other times, that being in 1997's The Postman, where he delivers mail in a post-apocalyptic America, which is actually a personal favorite of mine, by the way, and the Western drama Open Range, where he and his crew battle a corrupt lawman. In one last sudden double effort, we look at 2013, where Joseph Gordon-Levitt suddenly released his directorial debut, Don John, all about the seemingly perfect man John Martello Jr., who has such a strong addiction to, adult videos that he fails to even see the point in pursuing real relationships. At least not until he meets the beautiful Barbara Sugarman, played by Scarlett Johansson, who turns out to have a few misconceptions about relationships of her own. While the film didn't exactly make a huge box office splash, it was nonetheless praised critically for being a scathing, and quite funny, middle finger to how heteronormative relationships are presented and warped in the media. Of course, having an excuse to write yourself dating Scarlett Johansson probably didn't hurt either. One could definitely be a little cynical and refer to cases like these, especially in cases of actors directing themselves, as purely vanity projects. But even if that's what they are, there is no doubt that taking on several roles in production took a lot of hard work from each and every single one of these actors. And we, as audiences, surely appreciate it.